2024 gave us a lot of albums from some of the biggest names in pop, but not all of them hit the mark. In this video, we'll look at every pop album that flopped in 2024 so far. Venus by Zara Larsson. The year started off with Swedish pop sensation Zara Larsson dropping her fourth album Venus on February 9, 2024. The album was built around a series of singles, including Can't Tame Her, End of Time, and Oh My Love featuring David Guetta. Despite its solid pop production and Zara's strong vocals, it failed to make a major splash in the US. Although it performed decently in some international markets, it struggled to break through in the US, not even managing to chart on the Billboard 200. With catchy singles and collaborations, Venus had potential, but the lukewarm response suggests it wasn't able to match the success of her earlier work. This Is Me Now by Jennifer Lopez. This Is Me Now was supposed to be a comeback, a love letter to her rekindled romance with Ben Affleck. Released on February 16, 2024, this was J-Lo's 9th studio album. Instead of celebrating the love, we saw headlines of her divorce. The album debuted at a week number 38 on the Billboard 200, selling just 14,000 copies in its first week. The lead single, Can't Get Enough, did not live up to its name, failing to even chart on the Billboard Hot 100. As if that wasn't enough, she dropped a narrative-driven musical film alongside the album, This Is Me Now, a love story. That must have cost a lot. This year, for some reason, she started getting a lot of hate online, and unfortunately the hate train was in full force, and 2024 wasn't kind to her. New King by Jason Derulo. Here's one I bet you didn't even think about. Jason Derulo's 5th studio album New King dropped on February 16, 2024, his first album in 9 years, since Everything Is 4 in 2015. But all the silence leading up to the release, it's no wonder it debuted at a lowly number 82 on the Billboard 200, with only 12,000 copies sold in his first week. Interestingly, it is one of the most streamed albums of 2024 because he cleverly tacked on some of his older hits. But still, as far as new material goes, it barely made a splash. Everything I Thought I Was by Justin Timberlake. Justin's Everything I Thought I Was marked his 6th studio album, released through RCA on March 15, 2024. It was his first album since the underwhelming Man of the Woods, and the 6-year gap didn't help. The album debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200, earning 67,000 units in his first week, a decent number for 2024. But considering JT's history, this was a massive drop from his past success. It became the worst first week sales of his career. The lead single Selfish dropped in January, managed to peak on number 19 on the Billboard Hot 100, but it wasn't enough to carry the album. Tori by Tori Kelly. Tori, the 5th studio album by Tori Kelly, hit the shelves on April 5, 2024, but unfortunately, it missed the mark entirely. The album, an R&B and pop fusion that borrowed heavily from the sound of the 2000s, failed to capture much attention. Despite her undeniable vocal talent, the project didn't manage to stand out in a year filled with fierce competition. The most surprising part, it didn't even chart on the Billboard 200. For an artist with her talents and previous success, it was a hard pill to swallow. The album's lack of visibility and radio support certainly didn't help, making it one of the most overlooked albums of 2024. Reasonable Woman by Sia. Sia is a pop legend who has been active in the music industry for decades. Known for her unique voice, she returned in 2024 with Reasonable Woman, her 10th studio album. Released on May 3, the album followed a string of singles, including Gimme Love, Dance Alone featuring Kylie Minogue, and Incredible featuring Labyrinth. Despite its high-profile features and lead-up singles, the album failed to do much on the charts. It debuted at a disappointing number 153 on the Billboard 200, selling only 9,000 copies in its first week. For an artist like Sia, who has delivered massive hits in the past, these numbers were low. The album's promotions seemed to fall flat, and the Y2K nostalgia she tapped into didn't seem to connect. Room Under the Stairs by Zayn. Room Under the Stairs, Zayn's 4th studio album, dropped on May 17, 2024. The album took a bold departure from his usual sound, blending soul and country, and while that was good, it may not have been what his fans were waiting for. Despite this shift, The album performed moderately well in some areas. It debuted on number 3 on the UK Albums Chart and number 15 on the Billboard 200, with 29,000 album equivalent units sold in its first week. However, considering Zayn's earlier success, it still fell short. While singles like What I Am, Alienated, and Stardust were well received by his core fans, the general public didn't seem to latch on to the album's sound, making it a flop. Timeless by Meghan Trainor. Meghan Trainor, once a chart-topping force with her infectious doo-wop and bubblegum pop sound, returned in 2024 with Timeless, her 6th studio album. Released on June 7, the album saw Meghan stick to what she does best. While the sound was what she was known for, the reception was far from her earlier success. The album debuted at a respectable number 27 on the Billboard 200, but only sold 12,000 copies in its first week, a significant dip from her previous albums. Despite being catchy and full of feel-good vibes, the album struggled to make a lasting impact on the charts, suggesting that her bubblegum pop sound may have lost some of its appeal in today's pop landscape. CXOXO by Camila Cabello. Camila's 4th studio album CXOXO was released on June 28, 2024. Having switched record labels from Epic to Geffen, it seemed like Camila was trying to hit a reset. Sadly, it didn't work. Singles like I Love You featuring Playboy Cardi peaked on number 81 on the Billboard Hot 100, while her collaboration with Drake Hot Uptown didn't even crack the top 40. Despite featuring 2 After the Beef Drake collabs, the album failed to ride the wave of the hyperpop sound she aimed for, debuting on number 13 on the Billboard 200 with just 36,500 units sold in its first week, becoming her first album to miss the top 10. She even promoted the album doing many interviews, but it already feels like a distant memory. It's crazy to think that Brat was released before this album. Trouble in Paradise by Chloe. Chloe, one half of the duo Chloe and Halle, released her 2nd solo album Trouble in Paradise on August 9 of this year. Despite the high anticipation following her solo debut In Pieces, the album failed to gain traction, just like his predecessor. While Chloe's talent is undeniable, the album didn't chart on the Billboard 200, making it a major commercial disappointment. After selling just 10,000 copies in the first week with In Pieces, Trouble in Paradise continued her streak of underperforming releases, signaling a tough road ahead for the rising star. Quantum Baby by Tinashe. Tinashe's journey in the music industry has always been marked by creativity, independence, and the desire to do things her own way. Quantum Baby, her 7th studio album released on August 16, 2024, under her independent label Tinashe Music, was no exception. This was her 2nd album since gaining full publishing rights to her music, giving her complete creative control. While the album had the potential to be a game changer, it didn't quite live up to the hype. The album gained some traction. The first single, Nasty, blew up on TikTok and managed to peak on number 1 on the Billboard TikTok charts, an unexpected but impressive milestone. However, despite the TikTok success, the album struggled to translate that momentum into real-world album sales. It just squeezed in at a disappointing number 199 on the Billboard 200, moving only 8,000 units in its first week. For an artist as talented and dedicated as Tinashe, this was tough, especially after years of building a fiercely loyal fan base. Despite the underperformance, she is in a good place in her career and has done well to remain persistent, more than a decade into her career. Dopamine by Normani. Normani's debut solo album Dopamine was released on June 14, 2024. This was the project fans had been waiting for since she first stepped into the spotlight with Fifth Harmony. However, the album's release fell too little too late. The lead single Wild Side featuring Cardi B dropped way back in 2021, yes, 3 years before the album's release. The gap between the single and the album hurt its momentum, and when Dopamine finally dropped, it didn't hit like it should've. The album debuted at a disappointing number 91 on the Billboard 200, moving only 12,000 album equivalent units in its first week. For someone as talented as Normani, this was a major letdown. The industry might have been ready for her, but the delays and lack of consistent promotion caused the album to fall flat. Sincere by Khalid. Khalid's Sincere was his first release in 5 years, following 2019's Free Spirit, and was supposed to be his big return. Dropped on August 2, 2024, the album was anticipated, but ultimately didn't make a significant impact. The lead single, Please Don't Fall in Love with Me, failed to gain traction because it didn't have that much of a push. The album debuted at number 43 on the Billboard 200, selling 17,000 units in its first week. By Khalid's standards, this was a major dip, especially considering how American Teen and Free Spirit were commercially successful. The 5-year break between studio albums did not do him any favors. Khalid is one of the most streamed artists of all time, but while his core fanbase remained, the general public seemed to have moved on, and Sincere failed to reignite his buzz. Which flop albums did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.